Hello, friends! I am so excited to finally bring you my very first YouTube video. Today, I'm going to be showing you a time-lapse video of a quick watercolor illustration. All the materials I used in this video will be listed in the description box below. As you can probably see, I decided to do a Meet the Artist drawing. If you're unfamiliar, on Instagram there was this trend going around of illustrators doing basically like character sheets of themselves using the hashtag Meet the Artist. And I thought it was the perfect way to introduce myself to my new audience here on YouTube, and also a good way for people who already follow me to get to know me even better. So, for those of you who are not already familiar with me, hello, my name is Tina. Online, most of people know me as imawonder. I am a freelance illustrator and graphic designer based in Toronto. I was born and raised here in Canada, but my parents are Vietnamese. My birthday is on October 3rd, which makes me a Libra. Hello, fellow Libras. I don't know my rising sign or any of that extra stuff. Astrology is something I find really interesting, but as soon as I tried figuring it out, I got really confused, and so I gave up immediately. For all of my fellow Harry Potter fans out there, I am a proud Slytherin. I took the Pottermore test twice, and I was initially really offended because I thought to myself, I'm not a villain, I'm not evil, how dare they classify me as a Slytherin? But now I have fully embraced it, and I'd like to think that Slytherins generally are really ambitious and goal-oriented, which I guess sometimes spawns murderous, evil type people, but I'd like to think I'm more of the former and not the latter. I am currently rereading Deathly Hallows, and I am reminded of why it's one of the books that I don't go back to as often in the Harry Potter franchise. And that reason being, everyone dies and everything hurts. Yes, I am the type of person who gets emotional about fictional characters. Funny enough, though, Harry Potter is something that I got really into later on. When I was younger, most of my interest was in animated movies and TV shows, especially talking animals. That was something I watched a lot. Like many of you, I'm sure, I grew up watching Disney and Studio Ghibli movies, and those films really had a big impact on me, and those movies still influence my work to this day. I consume those movies all the time with no shame. I can pretty much recite all the dialogue and the lyrics from The Lion King when I watch it. And before you ask, yes, I have seen the musical, and it is spectacular. If you have not seen it, see it. It is so good. I definitely cried at the opening scene, and maybe more than once throughout. I'm actually trying to convince my friend to see it with me so I can watch it again, because it's that good. Also, yes, I have seen the trailer for the quote-unquote live action version of Lion King, which honestly does not excite me. I'm such a hardcore fan of 2D animation, and seeing all these unnecessary CGI remakes just exhaust me. I saw Beauty and the Beast and I hated it, even though I adore Emma Watson. And the new Aladdin trailer is just hysterically bad. If you have not seen it, you should watch it for a good laugh. But if you're a fan of Aladdin, it will make you sad. But going back to things that I do like, like Disney and Ghibli, something that really, really inspired me when I was a kid and still does to this day is magical girls. Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura specifically are my absolute jam. There is something about girls fighting evil while simultaneously looking cute AF that really appeals to me. And I'm sure and hope that you can see that in my work. Like a lot of illustrators, I'm sure anime was something that I drew a lot of, and then eventually kind of grew kind of out of it. But then, I feel like my work is not anime specifically, but I think you can see the influences there. Currently, though, most of my new TV viewing time is spent watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and I am obsessed. For those of you who don't watch the show, it's probably a lot more than what you think. There's, of course, the reality TV competition drama, but the art of drag really is something to behold. Not only are their runway looks inspiring, but also their stories, which is something that I'm really glad the show makes the point to highlight. As for the current season, season 11, I am totally rooting for Brooklyn Heights because, she's our Canadian Queen of the North. And I'm also really into Akira and Evie as the competition stands right now. I'm sure that will change because that's just the nature of the show. When they did the Halloween runway challenge, I died. October is my favorite month of the year for many reasons, but the main one being Halloween. I was a little disappointed that they didn't do more like classic monsters for their looks, and the majority of their witch costumes were just not quite witchy enough for me, but I still really, really enjoyed it. I just love Halloween. The whole vibe it brings, getting dressed up, going to fun parties, massive amounts of discounted chocolate. I mean, what's not to like, right? So even though I love Halloween, ironically, I can't watch horror movies. I just can't, which you're probably thinking doesn't really make any sense. But hear me out. I am a mildly spooky gal. Mildly spooky, meaning like Beetlejuice type level of spooky, which is not scary at all. I just get so paranoid after watching horror movies. My brain runs wild with the worst scenarios, and so I just have to avoid them altogether. Otherwise, I will not sleep. I just can't do it. When I pick my Halloween costumes, I usually try to pick something that will involve really fun makeup. I just love cosmetics. It's basically painting, but for your face. The only downside is that I feel like I have very few opportunities to wear the types of fun looks that I have in mind. My particular favorites being dark lipstick. If I could wear black lipstick all the time, I totally would. I mean, technically, no one is stopping me, but I spend so much time alone in my room, painting, hunched over a desk, so there's really no point, which I know, first world problems. Not to point out the obvious, but of course, spending lots of time painting and drawing is a total joy for me. As I mentioned earlier, I consider myself to be an illustrator as well as a graphic designer. I spend the majority of my time doing illustration work, but I actually went to school for graphic design. During school, though, deep down, I feel like I always knew illustration was what I really wanted to do. And I had gone into graphic design because I figured it was just more practical. But there is just something so fulfilling for me about painting, traditional artwork specifically, like mixing the colors and watching the drawing come to life, like with your paintbrush. It's so satisfying. Of course, it can also be really frustrating and difficult, but like all good things, you got to put the work in. This particular illustration that you're watching me work on was pretty easygoing. It was a pretty low pressure type thing. It was mostly for fun and doing this Meet the Artist video. I do the sketch and the color planning on my iPad, and then I transfer the sketch onto some watercolor paper. Then, as you saw, I use a tiny paintbrush to do the line art with acrylic ink, which is waterproof. For the text, I also used a Micron liner because it's just a little easier. From there, I fill in the colors with watercolor. And it's a pretty straightforward way to work. Having the line art done first, you don't have to worry about losing the sketch. I don't always work this way, but it is good for a more flat / cartoony style. So yeah, we're pretty much nearing the end of the video. I hope that you were able to get to know me a little better from listening to me ramble. I promise I will be bringing some more interesting content here in the future. I have a few product reviews that I'm planning to release, and I know that many of you have been asking about tutorial type videos, so I will definitely be adding that to the queue and will post those at some point in time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you'll subscribe and let me know in the comments if we share some things in common. I'm happy to talk about any of the things that I had mentioned in this video. Have an amazing day, and bye-bye for now.